Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Early Wedge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. It's 4 o'clock. I love these days, Rick, because we're on the precipice of waking up in the morning and finding out our guys are 5 over par. How you doing today?
Yes, and I'm doing well. And for those of us, so I don't know how you do it, Sia, but I scroll the app from the bottom up.
Me too.
So it's just this is the scariest week because most weeks you're just like don't see a guy you likes, don't see a guy you likes, don't see a guy you liked,
Yeah.
and you're just like you might see him very very quickly.
I think I always thought, because this comes up a lot, scroll from the bottom or the top. I always thought we were in the minority scrolling from the bottom when we're looking at the scoreboard early on a Thursday, but I'm pretty sure it's like 75% starts at the bottom and scrolls up.
Finally, yeah. I mean, it's the only way. Why would you start at the top? Like, I don't, in anything, you save the best for last. You start from the bottom, you go to the top. There's no reason to start at the top.
Yeah, this is going to be an interesting tournament too, from a DFS perspective. Also, of course, from a betting perspective. We're going to answer all those questions. So if you have one, put it in the chat. Maybe it's not about betting or DFS. Maybe it's about one and done. Whatever it is, if it's 3M open related, we're going to answer it. Although I did tweet out that if you have a pop culture question, you can put that in there because those are always fun. I did have a comment, though, before we get to the questions, Rick. We usually have a jump off point. Can I ask you, when you look at this field, because I'm kind of treating it like an alternate event, even though I understand there's some bigger names in there. Like how and you would know this because you probably know the actual numerical designation from a field talent standpoint. Is this like alt event-ish, or is it more skew on the side of, hey, regular PGA Tour event?
It's the 11th worst field of the year.
Okay.
So that puts it between Farmers and the Canadian Open.
Just so I'm clear, when you say 11th worst event talent-wise of the year, does that include the alt events? Are they included in that mix?
They are.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So it's a lot better than an alternate field event, but it is definitely not one of the better fields. It's definitely towards the bottom quarter or the bottom fifth or something like that. The thing that it gets, Sia, is that its position on the calendar stinks for the guys who are coming back from overseas, but some of the guys need to play. So with only 2 events left in the regular season, you get like a little bit of bump of Wyndham Clark, Adam Scott, Ricky Fowler to an extent, like guys that have to play. So you get a little bit of a bump there.
I was going to go to like another sicko thing I do for DFS, but for the NFL season, because we're Troy Polamalu days away. I'm going to get to that later because you just brought up, I'm pretty sure you just mentioned Ricky Fowler and Adam Scott. And literally our first 2 questions, people get in here early and they put questions out, which I absolutely love. Thank you, Zach Kasinski and Charlie, for doing that. Literally the first 2 questions, and this surprises me because these guys aren't getting a lot of airtime this week, pertain to Ricky Fowler and Adam Scott. So let's start with Zach Kasinski. Everybody hit the like button if you could. He says, Sia and Rick, what is your take on Ricky Fowler? He looked like the Ricky of old at the Open. So, Rick, is this a guy you're putting any money on? Is he a guy you're playing in DFS? How do you think he's looking right now?
That is a style of golf that's very good for Ricky. If I were Zach and I was trying to make this point, I would say he looked like the Ricky of old at the John Deere Classic, which he did. T18. I think that is very reasonable when you put that together with the Open. I think you're putting together a pretty solid run for Ricky. You put together the other top 20s that he's had since basically the truest. I think it's all good stuff. I always worry about what the upside is for Ricky. I think I live in like a 3.5 to 4 out of 10 excitement level on Ricky Fowler. This week, I've probably crossed over the 5 mark. I'm not sprinting to bet him. I'm not forcing him into every single lineup. I think he is a very reasonably fair priced option at $9,500.
Yeah, I think that's a take that says I'm fine with Ricky, but I just don't want to have anything to do with him. That's what you're saying effectively.
I'm not avoiding him like I normally do. I'm kind of letting him come to me, right? If it makes sense, if I'm playing 10 lineups, he's in 2 of them. That is probably taking a stand against the field. That's probably being a little bit overweight on the field. In fact, it's almost certainly going to be. So that's where I'm at, but it's not 6 out of 10. It's not 5 out of 10. It's like 2 out of 10.
Yeah, I will say that I'm going to have, and this is no, like, I'm not trying to be like disrespectful. Like, I hate Ricky Fowler. He's not going to be in any of my lineups. I'll probably end up, because by the way, from a strategic standpoint, when I'm approaching DFS this week, Rick, I do think when it comes to events like this, where random people, even good golfers, can put up just really crooked scores, and you've got like kind of everybody's potentially in the mix, especially if their putter is going. This to me lends itself to a week, Rick, where I almost want to play more lineups. So like if I'm going to use my bankroll, it's not going to be like, let's say I have $150 to spend. I'm not doing $100 in the single entry and then like a $33 and then a 10 and a 5. I would actually rather, for this is just my personal preference, because there's so many guys I want to play and so many different combinations I want to play because of the potential volatility here. I want to, instead of that $100 single entry, I might want to do $10 entries in the 18 max, for example. Like, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, you know what? Honestly, I just did what I normally did, but that's not a bad way to do it. Because I think you're right. You mentioned the word volatility. That for sure, 100%, that is true. I also think like when I ran a lot of simulations, like there's a lot of guys who can win this. And when I made my bets, I bet guys from 50 to 80 to 1. And you know what I mean? I don't think that I think the margin of golfer 6 to 60 is very small in this field. So yeah, I honestly didn't think about doing it in that sense of changing the way that I was, the number of lineups or whatever. But yeah, that would align with my thinking of this field.
My outright card is actually different than I thought it was going to be, because I ended up taking guys at shorter odds. Sam Burns, I took at 18 to 1 because I've just been on the Sam Burns train for too long for me to be like, oh, 18 to 1's too short. Like, I'm just going to go ahead and bet Sam Burns because I like him. The other two, these are like first clicks for me. They ended up being my primary outrights, were Jake Knapp at 40 to 1. And I think I might have gotten Thor Bjornsson at 40 to 1, but it's 35 to 1 now. And then I had two like crazy long shots. William Mao, leaving my money on the table there from the ISCO. And then Tristan Lawrence. Do you have any thoughts before we get to the next question, which is pertaining to Adam Scott? Do you have any thoughts on Tristan Lawrence at 150 to 1?
It's a long number. He's been playing better than that. I don't know off the top of my head kind of what his world tour, like, can he win a golf tournament? I don't know. But I do love the way he plays. And if he's 150 to 1 to win, obviously his top 10, his top 20 number are going to be pretty digestible.
The one thing that caught my eye about 6 weeks ago, maybe 5 weeks ago with Tristan, was at the Soudal Open, he was fourth. But then he played a couple PGA Tour events. And, because we don't know that World Tour stuff's going to translate, the couple PGA Tour events, he looked really good. And the ball striking looked to be in a place where it's never been before. And so, granted, he's fallen off the last 2 weeks across the pond at the Scottish and the Open Championship. He wasn't very good. But I just feel like in an event like this, a guy like Tristan Lawrence could be lingering at the top of that leaderboard, and people are just being like, who's this guy?
For sure. And you know what got my attention when you were running through that is the fact that Sam Burns is the favorite and he's 18 to 1, right? When is the last time we saw, I'll have to go look it up, but like we've been living in the 3.5, 5, even without Scotty, 10 to 1, 12 to 1, 18 to 1 as the guy who's the favorite or co-favorite. It should just tell you what Vegas thinks about this field, and they think it's wide open.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. I think that lends itself to a really fun tournament, like just day to day. Forget about pre-flop.
Yeah, dude, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be, you're going to have some guy who goes out and shoots 65, 75, or the opposite, 75, 65, right? It's going to be fun.
Rick, this is perfect too, because I remember it was probably 2 years ago. I can't remember the tournament. Like Sam Burns has only won 5 times, so I should be remembering this. But it was a Thursday night where Sam Burns was 8 strokes back, and he was 80 to 1. He was either 7 or 8 strokes back, and I tweeted out, "This number's way too long. He's 80 to 1. Let's hit Sam Burns." He ended up coming back and winning the tournament. It wasn't this tournament, but this is the type of tournament, speaking of Sam Burns and the volatility of this field, where a live bet for somebody that you really like, who had like a somewhat poor round one, but like didn't take himself out of it, this is a great opportunity to live, especially if the top of the leaderboard, we're not going to have Scotty and Roy, right? We're going to have guys that are, that can just backpedal very, very easily.
You're going to see guys vomit all over themselves. That's what they tend to do at this golf course. And the way that even like the way that you have to play 18 has given so many guys so
Oh
much
my
issue.
gosh.
Like remember when I want to say was it Cam Champ when he won? There's that water all the way down the right, and it's in play on both your first and your second shot. And he blasted it about 60 yards left into like the next, whatever is over. Just like, I am not even remotely thinking about bringing this into play. These guys just they just melt. They melt here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the 18 is definitely going to be interesting. All right, let's get to the next question. By the way, put your questions in the chat. Hit the like button if you could. Charlie says, is Adam Scott the sneaky play this week? I mean, this is a good question.
I have in the last 20 minutes, I've fallen in love with Adam Scott. So here's where I'm at. He has played. I take notes like while I'm doing my shows and this show. Like I take notes because I want to go look it up later.
Yeah,
he might have played this. He might be playing the most difficult schedule on the PGA Tour this year. It is only majors. It is only signature events. It's like the worst event he's played. It's the Valspar and the Scottish Open. It is a gauntlet of events. And when he has played in events that have a kind of a below average strength of field, which I think he's probably not done this year, he's one of the better players in this field. He needs it. The tee to green numbers have been very good. I've just very much like over the last half an hour gotten a lot more excited about Adam Scott.
So Adam Scott was one of my outrights last week. I had Xander, I had Matt Fitzpatrick in the without market, without Big Four, and I had Adam Scott in the without Big Four market. It would almost be silly for me. Granted, the form hasn't looked good the last couple of times. I would almost be silly for me not to consider him in some, whether it's DFS or otherwise. And when you look at the DFS numbers from an ownership standpoint, Rick, I mean, it's not like everybody seems to be playing Emiliano Grillo. I get it. I'm going to fade him because it looks like he's going to get a lot of ownership. Everybody wants to play Akshay Bhatia. I'm completely fading him as well because we just addressed all the volatility with this tournament. Adam Scott's sitting there at like somewhere between 5 and 10% below those guys, or 5 and 8%, whatever.
He's coming off a pretty ugly miscut, and he's never played here. So yeah, there are other options.
So he's never played here. So he's here. Okay, this is like the whole like motivation thing, right, Rick? This is like FedEx Cup.
He's like 82nd in the FedEx Cup standings or something like that. So yes, he is trying to get into the playoffs, and he's trying to make a run. Yeah.
That is very interesting. All right. I'm so I love these live chats because again, I'm an Adam Scott guy, and I didn't even look at him. I mean, I did, but I was just like kind of disgusted with last week, and I just you know what happens there. So I'm gonna put him in some of my DFS. I'm not gonna bet him outright, although I don't think that's a bad idea. But I'm gonna put him in some DFS lineups. All right, let's see. Walker Underwood, trying to find all the questions here, going down to Jack George. If I miss somebody, I will go back up. Jack George says, hey guys, I was just on Rick's show and I'm now tempted to bet Adam Scott at -105 over Sung Jae. Also, I assume that's a tournament matchup, by the way. Also was thinking Haotong -115 over Thigala. Again, I assume that's a tournament matchup. Thoughts? Both tournament oh, okay. You just said that. So they are tournament matchups. Rick, any thoughts on either of these two?
So if you made me pick I would not bet this, but if you made me pick a side, it would be the Haotong side. Sahith was injured and he has not knocked off the rust. And if you're a little bit off, I think that you are in trouble here. Haotong's been playing a ton. Haotong's been awesome. The only concern I have about Haotong is that he just had to play in the final group with Scotty Scheffler at the Open. And like, is there going to be an adrenaline dump? Like that's the only concern I have. Haotong playing golf is much better than Sahith right
now. I don't disagree with that. That's probably the matchup I would choose because as much as I like Adam Scott because of that conversation, we do have to concede like he's a bit of an unknown, which is why I kind of like him in DFS because of his ownership and his spike potential. I will say this, I do have a round one matchup I gave out on the early Wedge Best Bets show yesterday and on the early edge this morning. Round one, I've got Davis Thompson -115 over Sung Jae Im. So I'm fading Sung Jae there. Just the ball striking is just atrocious with Sung Jae. Are you looking at Sung Jae at all this week, Rick?
Yeah, I would love to get action against him. I think is probably the path. It's just not the same. It hasn't been the same for a long time. There's not a lot of sign of it getting better, right? Like I just have very little hope, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. He did have a second place here like 3 years ago, but since then missed cut, and he's just been in terrible form. All right, we got a lot more. Thank you for the question, Jack. We've got a lot more questions to get to. We're going to do it right after this quick message from our partners.
Get ready.
Wait a second. I thought we were going tubing.
All 3 Sonic the Hedgehog movies and Knuckles are now streaming on Paramount Plus.
And everyone loves it.
Every adventure,
Just try to keep up.
every face-off,
This ends now.
and every moment that will have you saying,
Where have you been? My entire life!
It's showtime.
all 3 Sonic the Hedgehog movies and the entire Sonic universe are now streaming on Paramount Plus.
We're back on the Early Wedge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Rick Funcannon Jr., big Cubs fan, big Chicago guy. He says, not that this has anything to do with Michael Thorbjornsen. I'm not exactly sure where he's from. Top 30, Michael Thorbjornsen at plus 110. So, Rick, again, I bet Michael Thorbjornsen right away, right when the odds came out on, I guess it would have been Sunday night, to win this tournament. I'm really just playing the talent card and the recent form card with Thorbjornsen, especially when we get to these alt-ish events. I really like playing the talent card there. What are your thoughts on this top 30 that Rick has?
You said it. Talent in recent form. Check and check. So yeah, that's no problem here. He's been awesome. I love the tutelage of JJ Jakovic on the bag. It is. I think like I would buy the Thorbjornsen stock for like the next 12 months. I think it's going to be good stuff.
Yeah, totally agree. Don't accidentally click on Thorbjorn Olesen, by the way, everybody. Although if you put a popular Michael Thorbjornsen with Thorbjorn Olesen, you'll offset some of that ownership. I'm just throwing that out there because I don't think anybody's rostering him at 7,300. David Talk says, but Tia and Finau, are you playing them in DFS? They ain't in good form. So I'm not playing either of them, Rick. There's certainly a lot of arguments for both. What are your thoughts here?
Finau, I think it is a horrible sign when a guy like Tony Finau has lost approximately 20 strokes off the tee in his last 4 starts. And now you go to a place where there's water on 15 holes and you're now asking Tony Finau to putt his way to victory. Sorry. And also, I don't really care about, like, I understand the history here is awesome. He has not been that guy. So out on Finau, pretty neutral on Akshay. There are other guys around him. So this question's for DFS purposes. There were other guys around him that I liked more, and he just did not end up making a lot of my lineups, but not very interested there.
David Taka also says, Kitayama, Clark, Grillo, and Hoey, are you playing them? I mean, I got to admit that Grillo and Hoey rated out really well for me when I kind of like, I don't do a model, Rick, but I do go on rickrungood.com and I just kind of like, I go on the cheat sheet first. I have this like very, like 3-part process. It starts with the cheat sheet, then it goes to the Holy Grail, and then it goes to the power rankings. And that third step isn't weighted quite as much as step 2, because the Holy Grail part is where I really kind of get into the granular stuff. With all of that said, that first initial run on the cheat sheet with things that were really important to me, which was accuracy off the tee, but a little distance. Let's see, we had weighted total, like tee to green stuff. Grillo and Hoey rated out really well there. Kitayama, I think, was up there. Clark, not so much. But Grillo is probably going to be too popular for me. And I don't know that I want to play Hoey, but I like those 2 of those 4. Which of that group do you like? Yeah,
those are the 2. Hoey and Grillo, I've got a pretty decent bit of exposure to. Kitayama is pretty medium. I actually like the way that he's playing. Wyndham is only being deployed in very high leverage, high upside situations. I think he's got one of the biggest ranges of outcomes of anybody here. So it would have to be, I'm trying to make up a lot of ground in a one and done. I'm trying to find a guy who can actually, a guy with win equity at X ownership. That would be the way I deploy Wyndham, but it has to be a very specific case.
Aaron, can you do me a favor and put that preferred lies question? We can go out of order. Put that preferred lies question back up, because I do want to bounce this off Rick if we get that. Rick, we know there's a lot of rain, I guess, right now and overnight on the course at TPC Twin Cities. Do you expect it to be preferred lies on Thursday?
If you ever have to ask yourself that question about the PGA Tour, the answer is yes. They just love it. Love some preferred lies. Yeah, so 1.5 inches is what they're forecasted to get today, which is a lot. So I would imagine, yes, at least the opening round would be preferred loss.
Okay, interesting. And so from a targeting standpoint, does that change your process at all in terms of, let's say you've got your DFS pool, does it heighten certain players or lower certain players for you?
Gives a bump to the combination of accurate drivers and approach players, because they'll benefit the most. They'll be able to actually pick up their ball, clean it, put it down, and then when you do get to put your ball down, that's like putting it on a driving range mat. Those guys, like, they just do not miss from there. So the combination of accurate and ball strikers,
and with receptive greens, that's going to certainly help. So everybody's going to get relief in that case, or that type of relief potentially, except of course for the guy I have an outright on, Sam Burns. He doesn't get that type of relief, as we have come to learn. Jeff Stenberg, notably the biggest Michael Thorbjornsen fan on earth, says seeing other people throwing Thor bets in the chat really warms my heart. I'm just going to say it right now, Rick. It's like, I almost want to get you out of this and get a one shot here. Michael Thorbjornsen is winning the 2025 3M Open. You heard it here first. Actually, you didn't hear it here first, but I'm just telling you very decisively, Michael Thorbjornsen is winning the 2025 3M Open. Rick, I think it is Wednesday afternoon. So I'm calling my shot before the tournament starts. It's going to be Thor. All right. We can go back to the shot. Good job, Aaron. Thank you for that.
Good producing.
When he misses the cut, people are definitely going to cut that up and put it on social media for me. Bo Connor says, Sia, how do you feel about Davis Thompson -125 over Gary Woodland, or Thorbjornsen -115 over Rio Hisetsune?
Give me the Thor one. The Davis Thompson stuff's concerning because he's been pretty good from tee to green and getting no results out of it. And then his last start was just miserable. I don't like either one of those two guys, but the Thorbjornsen over the Rio one is probably better for me.
Yeah, I would lean that way as well. The thing about Davis Thompson and Garrett Woodland, they're kind of the same guy, or at least they tend to be, where they can get you tee to green, they can get you there, but they're just not going to finish the deal with the putter. So I just don't think there's a huge edge there personally, but I would lean Davis Thompson. He's one of my first round leaders, and I don't have him outright in the tournament because I don't think he can keep it up with the putter, but good question. It looks like we're leaning to Thor over Rio there. All right. Adam Cook says, Rick, you hit on this with Harry Hall for the Scottish Open. Let's do it again. Give us a fun guy to root for this week. 30% data, 70% vibes. What a great question. Thank you, Adam.
I didn't remember saying Harry Hall, but I remember that question. Okay. So honorable mention is Joel Damon. Now he's very cheap. I don't think he's going to win the golf tournament, but I think we're going to get a good week out of him. I think the answer to this question would be Jake Knapp.
Yes. I was going to say that.
Who, he's going to have the flow going. He's probably going to club down a lot. He's probably going to hit a lot of like low little stingies. Like, it's going to be a good time. He might roll some putts in. He picked up like 10 strokes putting last time we saw him. Yeah, like that I like, if I like the fifth pick in a pro-am group, I'd probably pick Jake Knapp, which would be a pretty good time.
All right, that's the perfect answer. Brandon says, what are your thoughts on this 3-ball Max Grazerman over Bo Hostler and Chandler Phillips +125? I don't like this one at all, Rick, personally.
Hostler's been playing better. Okay. So if you don't like this, I'm probably higher on Grazerman than you are. So why don't you like this?
Okay. So a couple things. I love Max Grazerman. Like we've talked about him a lot on the show. I don't think this is the course for him. I think, I think he can get a little wayward off the tee, and that could get him into some trouble. And the recent form isn't, granted, he almost won a tournament. What was it, 3-4 weeks ago? But I just don't think the recent form is great either. And by the way, Bo Hostler, like I don't love Bo Hostler, but he's starting to show some like old Bo Hostler vibes. And Chandler Phillips, if memory serves, and I got to look up his profile, but this is a guy that can keep it in the fairway. This is a guy like a shorter hitter that's accurate, that I think actually has a shot at this 3-ball. So to me, I think you're getting Max Grazerman at a price that is factoring in just all the love and attention that he's getting, and it probably should be closer to like +140 or +145.
So Grazerman's played here once. He finished runner-up. The Hostler stuff, if I was betting against Hostler's a little bit concerning because he's definitely out of the slump, but I'm not concerned enough here. So I'm with Brandon here that
Okay.
this is the one I want to be on. It's not my money though.
Fair enough. I'm looking up, Chandler Phillips, he's relatively accurate. He's not super short. T32 last time out. He's played here once with a missed cut. Remember the Wilson Phillips thing from a couple of weeks ago?
Yeah.
Like, I've had my eye on this guy. I think he has some potential.
The Wilson Phillips.
Favorite Phillips, Wilson Phillips. All right, let's go to some more questions. Thanks for putting your questions in the chat, everybody. And if I miss something, I will try to scroll back up and catch it. Maddie D111 says, thoughts on leaving a lot of money on the board for DFS? Could see optimal lineup at like 45K. Well, that's certainly true. Your thoughts, Rick?
Do it. Don't be afraid to do it. Yes. I mean, so speaking specifically about optimals, they almost exclusively leave thousands of dollars on the table. Even last week's with Scotty Scheffler winning, it was like $47,000 or something like that. So we have seen some very, very low ones this year, and this wide open nature would probably confirm that.
Jeff Stenberg saying I should pick my favorite 10 first round 3-balls and parlay them.
Sure.
That is definitely a terrible idea. All right. Ohana
what could possibly go wrong?
Yeah. Ohana Ceramic. Here is a thought. With it being probably preferred live, you sprinkle $5 on 5 golfers that get a boost, i.e. Crystal Ball for, what is that, 351 end of round leader. Good upside potential.
He's talking about Cristobal del Solar.
Yeah. I mean,
your guess is as good as mine, right? I mean, he's 350 to 1. The guy has shot a sub 60 like twice in his career, I think. So he obviously has the firepower. I think a lot of these guys have the firepower to go out and be the first round leader. So it's 350 to 1. The risk is very, very low. So I don't know what to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing about first round leaders too. Have a day, like spend $10 and put $2 on 2 guys and $4 or $5 on another, total on another 5 and, have some fun with it. But I don't know that we'd be zeroing in on a guy like Cristobal del Solar, but 351 compelling for a guy that we know can go low. Interesting here. Another guy that I think is sneaky like Adam Scott, but certainly does not have his pedigree. Pearson Coody was like pretty popular a few weeks ago. And I'm pretty sure, looking on your site, Rick, that Pearson Coody is because of his just poor performance lately and the fact that he really has no pedigree, that on the PGA Tour, really, nobody's playing him. Don't you think he's an interesting guy?
So the only bad week he has had one bad week basically this year. And it was when he was the most popular. And it was also not only a bad week, it was miserable. He lost 9.5 strokes in round 1. He was in dead last immediately out of the gate. Finished 4th on the Korn Ferry Tour the next week. Finished 57th at the Barracuda. Before that, he was awesome. Nobody's going to play him. So, yes, I do not care at all about that one round at the John Deere.
I mean, truly, nobody's going to play him. It looks like 3% for a guy that's 7,600. And by the way, when he had that missed cut, I think he was 8,600. He was not only expensive, but he was expensive and still getting ownership.
Yeah, he was 8,400 and he was 15% owned, which is 7 times the normal ownership of Pearson Coody. So he was very, very popular.
And I will say he's not necessarily the greatest course fit, certainly a super long off the tee, which should help, but also maybe a little inaccurate compared to some of the guys that are popular. But I think Coody if you're playing a lot of lineups, I think Coody should be in a couple of them because I think if we're looking for scoring, I think Coody has that potential. Big Boy says, good afternoon, gentlemen. Thoughts on putting 5 units on Burns top 30, Putnam and Grillo top 40 at plus 445. Oh, that's a parlay. I see. I don't like putting a lot of units on having to have 3 guys fit inside this number, although it is reasonable. Rick, your thoughts?
Well, Big Boy, I honestly never know how to answer this, right? It's is Big Boy looking for just confirmation on a bet that he's already put in, or does he want us to actually run the numbers and see if it should be longer or shorter than plus 445? I never know how to answer these. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, should Burns finish inside the top 30? Yeah, he's the favorite. Should Putnam and Grillo finish inside the top 40? Like, probably, right? I think Putnam's in a good spot, and I've bet Grillo. So yeah, like this is fine.
Yeah, I just think, you shouldn't be putting more units on something at a tournament like this. When you have to have 3 guys finish inside, let's say the top 40 or top 30, we know where the volatility lies everywhere. It just feels like you're pushing the envelope at a tournament like this with like grouping a bunch of finishing positions together. And I will say, like, I might parlay something. I might parlay something and tweet it out like I have been with those like crazy 80 to 150, but like, those are things I'm putting like $3 on at like 80 or 100 to 1. Like, I don't know about really investing a ton of units on a finishing position parlay.
In general, parlays are bad.
Yeah.
So this is for entertainment, I suppose. And if Big Boy wants to do this, you should do it. Like, absolutely. Go have fun. Like, I like all 3 of these guys, but I don't know if like plus 445 is the right number or not.
Yeah.
But I don't think he cares. And that's fine. If he's like, he's just doing it for a sweat, that's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, if 5 units is something you throw around here and there, that's fine. But I don't think that's like the big play of the year where you should be, adding to your units there. Zach Kasenki says, Sia and Rick, Antoine Rosner, who, by the way, I believe is 6,900 in DFS. We talked about him, Rick, on the DFS show. A cut-making machine, which is absolutely true. He's plus 140 to be top 40. Do we love it?
We at least like it. I don't know if we love it, but we at least like it. He's, Zach's on the right page here. He's been a very solid across the board, which gives you a sense that a variety of different courses, a variety of different setups. I wish he was a little bit more accurate off the tee, but I think that, he has a lot of different ways. It's just why he's made so many cuts is he has a lot of different ways to beat his peers, which is usually a good sign. So in general, yes, I think that Antoine Rosner is in the top 25 or 30% of this field, something like that. I think he's a little bit mispriced on DraftKings, which probably means he's a little bit mispriced in the outright market, which probably means he's probably a little bit mispriced in the top 40 market. So all those things considered, Zach, sure. Yeah. Great.
I wonder what to make the cut number is for Rosner, because if it's reasonable, I think that might be a good direction to go. Although, Rick, I do agree with you. He kind of jumped out in my sort of like early research as well. The accuracy off the tee could potentially be an issue, but he seems to be a guy that can kind of figure it out, might actually be more talented than a lot of guys that are above him.
His make the cut number is minus 140.
Oh, that's too bad. I was hoping it was closer to like minus 115. Okay. I wouldn't do that personally, but I think this top 40 is okay at plus 140. Speaking of plus money, Brandon says Adam Scott is plus 220 in a 3-ball with Wyndham Clark and Chris Gotterup. Is this worth a sprinkle? It's a good number, Rick.
The assumption you're making here is that Gotterup declines.
Yeah.
That's the assumption, because if Chris Gotterup plays the way he has in the last 6 months, I do not like this. The assumption is he declines from a life-changing 2-week trip across the pond. If you want to pick on Wyndham Clark in a tournament situation, that's fine. I think Adam Scott's floor is pretty darn high. He finishes like 15th to 29th every single week. So I'm cool with that. This is assuming you're going to get a Gotterup decline. What's the likelihood of that, Sia? I don't know. We've never seen him do it before. He's played great golf for 6 months. We have never seen him have a life-changing week across the pond and now have to come back.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a decline there. I don't know that I would take that 3-ball necessarily. I like the plus 220. I will say I'm taking Sam Burns in a tournament matchup minus 115 over Chris Gotterup because I just think he's the better player. And I do think we're going to see at least a little bit of regression, particularly maybe with the putter from Chris Gotterup.
Yeah, there's a really good chance that he just like exhales when he gets back. He's like, okay, like I've got my ticket punched to X, Y, and Z and this, that, and the other, like that's very possible. He is,
I think he's 23rd in the FedEx Cup.
23rd. That's pretty safe. He's going to get a couple of playoff events. This is not his only chance, I guess is the way that I look at it. So I could see that.
Joseph Boza, I think we've covered this, but he says, who is a sneaky good pick in DFS? I mean, we talked about some of those with Cootie. I don't know if that's a good pick, but it's certainly a low owned pick. Adam Scott. Can I just say what I said on Monday? I'm actually going to do some lineups. They're not going to be expensive lineups. I'm playing Paul Peterson at 6,300.
Yeah, he's my last man in.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Paul Peterson, 6,300 down there in that Chess and Hadley range, which I think you could maybe potentially go there. I've got so many 6K guys that I like outside of like the David Skins that a lot of people are going to play. Rosenmuller is interesting to me. Castillo, somewhat interesting to me, but I probably won't play him. Will Gordon at 6,500. Lento Griffin at 6,400. I think there's a lot of directions you can go outside of some of the popular guys. And I am definitely playing Tristan Lawrence as well. Let's see. Taylor DeHart says, see any thoughts on a round 1 3-ball? Kevin Yu, even money over Adam Schenk and Peter Malnati. I don't hate it. Schenk and Malnati can sometimes put together good rounds. I don't know that I love the even money here, but what do you think, Rick?
Those are two guys that I cannot remember the last time I saw their names on a leaderboard.
Malnati's had some decent rounds here and there recently. Schenk, not so much.
Oh my gosh. Adam Schenk has missed
Yeah,
nearly every single cut this year. Malnati, yeah, obviously a little bit better. It's hard to be worse than that because he's a very good putt. Like he might just catch fire and putt the lights out. Yeah, Kevin Yu is playing golf on a much higher level than these two.
Yeah, he did in my initial research. He rated out. I mean, he was like really high up there with the accuracy, with the distance that I was looking for, the total strokes. He checked a lot of boxes. So I don't hate it. I'm probably not betting that, but I think that's a decent find there. Strange Brew. Let's see. What do you guys think of Matty Schmid and Jesper Svensson? Jesper really jumped out at me, but then when you look at the finishing positions, Rick, it's like very underwhelming. So I kind of question his upside, but maybe this is the tournament where it's shown. Any thoughts on either of these two?
I probably like Svensson more than you then.
Okay.
Just really talented. He's, I think he gets this rap of being like, oh, he's, he's this guy from Sweden and what we don't really know much about. He's played like an entirely PGA Tour schedule this year. We have a lot of numbers on him and it's very good, especially from the tee to green metrics. Matty Schmid is super volatile. So if that's what you're looking for, it's kind of the Wyndham Clark situation. He's like a poor man's Wyndham Clark. He might find the water like 6 times this week.
Yeah.
Or he might be in the final group. So if that's what you're looking for, great. I think Svensson is safer for sure.
Okay, I agree with that. All right, let's go to Franco Quattrini. Can you rank? Okay, so these 3 names, I'm not, just FYI, I'm not playing or betting any of these guys. But so, Rick, I'm going to go to you first, and then I'll make a small comment. Taylor Pendrith, rank the following: Taylor Pendrith, Siwoo Kim, and Wyndham Clark.
I think that's the right order. Taylor Pendrith, Siwoo Kim, Wyndham Clark. Now I'm also considering that's all things considered, right? So yeah. I believe that's the right order.
Taylor Pendrith 5th here last year. I think Taylor Pendrith is a guy that he's getting some ownership. I mean, it's pretty flat in that 9K range. Like everybody's getting somewhere between looks like 12 and 15% outside of Sung J M, but he's a guy that like nobody's really talking about. He's not on any outright cards. What's weird about that is that Pendrith can win.
Yes. And he's also starting to play a lot better at courses that you don't think he should. Yeah. So over the years that will change, but Taylor Pendrith is a lot better than people realize.
I totally agree. He's like I just said, I'm not going to play him in any DFS lineups, and that might still be true because I was kind of hoping he'd be like sub 10% or something, and then it would be a real fun play. But I may sneak him in. Again, I'm playing more lineups this week than I normally do, and kind of diversifying the portfolio a little bit. Of those 3, Taylor Pendrith would be the guy that I would play. All right, let's go. Nap top 30 at plus 120, says Rick Funcannon. We like that, right, Rick?
Yep, generally pretty good on pretty in on Nap. Yeah. All
right. Looks like Rick is saying M Squared's model has Nap 8th, so tons of value on Nap top 30. Okay, that's great to know about Mike McClure's model. All right, so let's see. David Talk, are you guys playing 2 10K guys in your lineups?
Didn't happen.
No, I'm not, but I don't think it's a terrible idea. I don't know, Rick, how many people do you think will actually do that? Very few, right?
Yeah.
Because people aren't clamoring to bet or to play two out of the 3 of Burns, McNeely, and Goddard.
Because then you have to be comfortable with Paul Peterson and like, you know what I mean?
But the thing is, like, if you do that, because I did this before Monday's show, I really like to do like the sort of the top of the board and see how much money you have left. If you do those 2, you still, if memory serves, you still have 7,300 left. Like, That doesn't mean you got to go to Paul Peterson. It just means you got like go to David Skins, for example. Now you got 7,600, 7,650, whatever it is. Now you can play that 7K game for the rest of the three guys.
Yeah, okay, that's better than I thought. I did not get any lineups with two 10K guys in.
Yeah, I mean, by the way, I haven't done that yet either, but I'm just making the argument that if we think not a lot of people are going to do that, it could be a play. I'm not really big on playing anybody outside of Sam Burns in the 10K range. I'm pretty much fading Goddard and McNeely. B-Man Money One says Roy, Putnam, Rosner, Bezadenhout, or Gim, last man in for DFS. Oh, I have opinions here. Go ahead, Rick.
I like a lot of these guys.
Me too.
I would say it's very close. Bezadenhout.
So I'm going to go with Doug Gim, who I generally never like to play because the putter can really go sideways. I mean, just really like officially like take him out of a tournament in spite of great ball striking. But when you look at his history, it's part of the reason on the Best Bets show Tuesday night at 7:00, everyone, I have Doug Gim as a top 40 at like, I can't remember, it was plus 120 or so. He's good here. Like he constantly finishes inside the top 30, 40 at this venue. It just makes me feel like he's pretty comfortable here overall. So that's why, and I do think he has upside. If the putter is working, we know the ball striking is there. What other guys? So I like Gim, you like Seabass, and I like Seabass too. Is there another guy you like here? Kevin Roy would probably be the guy for me next in at 7,300.
Yeah, I like all of these guys, but yes, Kevin Roy. I love that he was playing really well. He struggled and then he bounced back. I mean, he's a very good bounce back player. I think that's a huge skill. So yes, Kevin Roy is probably number 2. Him or Gim, I think are fair.
Yeah. David says, are you fading Goddard? So I'm fading Goddard up. Rick, are you like actually fading him or just kind of peppering him here?
Just kind of matching the field, cautiously optimistic. Didn't get him in a lot of one and dones because he's pretty popular by, relatively popular for this week. So I do not have a ton of exposure to Goddard.
Who is, if you're near like inside the top 20%, who's the one and done you'd be going with?
If I am, let me pull up the numbers here. So and
then if you're chasing, you're like in the bottom 50%, who are you going with?
So there's a rare situation where if you have Sam Burns available, no matter what your position is, you should probably use him. It's because he's been used by like he's already used like 70% of the field. So you've got one of the favorites who's going to be sub 10% owned. And it doesn't even matter if you're chasing or you're front running. Because if you're front running, you get the favorite. If you're chasing, you get a low owned guy with short odds. So I think if you have Sam Burns, that's the flow chart. Like, do you have Sam Burns available? If yes, play him. If no, and you're front running, I prefer McNeely, but McNeely or Goddard up would be fine. I think McNeely is a little bit safer. If you are chasing, then you have your pick of the litter. I like Jake Knapp at like 5%, or you could go Grazerman at 6%. Those are probably the short lists.
So I'm 56th out of 1,000 and change in the early wedge one and done. And I've actually slipped. I was inside the top 10. I haven't had a good 3 or 4 weeks, but I have Sam Burns available. I still have Victor and Ludwig as in terms of like more top options later on down the line. I'm actually waiting to use Sam Burns. I think I'm going to use him when like literally no one can use him at like FedEx St. Jude because like nobody will have him available. I'm going to go with Michael Thorbjornsen. Then I'm going to go Sam Burns. And then I'm basically just going to try to get Victor and Ludwig in there at the end and hope I can just pass everybody.
Well, that's the thing. If you don't use Sam Burns this week, you are going to be like the only person who has him left.
That's right. That's right. So here we are. Who will be the chalk this week that most likely disappoints us? I have an answer to this.
Okay.
I'll go first. Akshay Bhatia. Rick, your turn.
It's a good one. Gosh. I mean, I think it could be Goddard. There's a really good case to be made that just Chris Goddard just plays poorly and then gets right back on track next week, and it's not a huge deal. Akshay's are probably the right answer, but Akshay and Goddard would probably be the two.
Yeah, I think Grillo is going to end up getting a lot of what we call steam. And I could see him, although I think Grillo does check all the boxes it's golf at the end of the day, and it is Emiliano Grillo. So I think he could be a huge disappointment to people as well. But again, I'm not playing him or Akshay in DFS. I'm just going to go in different directions. Probably fine plays. But Connor Luxic says, Sia and Rick, you think Hao Tong Lee can step up again, or is he a one and done, you think? As in like one and done last week?
I take offense with calling him a one and done. He's had an awesome year. He just hasn't done it on the PGA Tour. He's won a DP World Tour event. He's got a bunch of top 10 finishes. So again, golf wise, I love Hao Tong this week. The only concern, so bump him down one notch, is that adrenaline dump, hangover, holy crap, Scotty Scheffler in the final group of the Open, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But that was not an anomaly the way that he plays. He's a very, very good golfer. He's having a great year.
Well, I also think a lot of people think that because they saw him at the Scottish Open. And I recall people liking him at the Scottish Open, and he just did not have a good tournament there. Missed the cut, I believe. So, Hao Tong Lee is very impressive. I'm not playing him personally, but good question there. David Talk says, thoughts on Sam Stevens and Hayden Springer for DFS? They both rated well for me. Sam Stevens is a guy, Rick, that I talk about range of outcomes. I mean, Springer to some degree as well, certainly a score on both ends here. But Sam Stevens seems like a guy that's more talented than what his odds and price tag are. But I feel like his range of outcomes are like last place or like top 5.
Yeah, that's fair. I think of these two, I prefer Springer. Just kind of getting into a better, more sustainable model, and played really well at each of the last two, like the alternate field events. So each of the last 2 weeks, and we're starting to find something with Springer where I think he could go out and finish. I mean, he finished 6th at the Farmers. I think that's his upside, right? Very similar field, a 6th place finish. Sam Stevens, I agree with you, feels like literally anything is possible when he goes out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually had Springer as an outright last week at the Barracuda, along with, I was deciding between Gerard and Kevin Roy. I ended up going with Kevin Roy, so that hurt. And then I had David Skins last week too, and he's a very popular name this week. Joseph Boza says Sam Burns and Chris Goddard are the co-favorites this week. Should we look at them for betting? Okay, so just kind of a general question. Rick, you're looking down the board from a betting standpoint.
Yeah, I think honestly the shortest guy I bet was like 35 to 1 or something like that. So yes, I've opted to go down the board with a few more bullets than normal.
As a data and statistical analyst, you'll probably take offense to this question from Taylor DeHart. Do you weigh in travel from across the pond? You have kind of like worked that into some of the stuff that you've talked about.
Yeah.
But like, obviously you don't literally weigh it because you can't put a numerical value on it, but how do you consider stuff like that?
I try not to. I am human, but I try not to. The problem is there's the data that exists is very wonky. A lot of guys don't even do it. The best players often don't do it. And these guys are also way better at traveling than you and I are. They do it constantly. Also, they get a charter out there, and I think they get a charter back. So it's also not like they are slumming it in coach on Spirit, right? Like it is just, it's different. So it's very, very hard to figure that out, but they're constantly going through time zones. They're constantly doing this stuff. I don't care that much.
Yeah, I don't think I care that much. I cared maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I'd be like, just, a lot of times you're trying to convince yourself of something. So if you don't really like a guy, you're going to say, hey, I think the travel is going to be a concern. If you really like it, you're going to ignore it. I would largely ignore it. Let's see. Bobby Lee asks about Alex Noren and Alex Smalley. I'm not on either of those guys. Rick, any opinions on either?
Not on either one of them. Alex Noren missed a lot of time. I think 7 or 8 months with that torn quad / glute, I think it was. Mm-hmm. He looks like a guy who is still working back. He looks it's not great. So I would give him some more time, and then Smalley's just kind of going in the wrong direction. So I do not have either one of those guys.
All right. Question about Ben Coles and his recent WD. I don't know if you know anything about that. I don't really. Coles, I think, is a name because he's accurate off the tee, like decent ball striker, short game, not really there for him. Any thoughts on Ben Coles?
If Ben Coles gains 2 strokes putting this week, he's going to win the golf tournament. Like he's so bad on the putting surfaces. So I I like that part. I did not see why. I don't even know if he said why he withdrew. So I wouldn't be that worried about it, but this is all about whether he will putt well or not. So if you can find the week, it'll be great. If not, he's going to finish like 35th and he's going to be 6th in tee to green play and last with a putt.
Yeah, I know he's 6,600 and you're just looking for those guys to make the cut, but I think there's better guys, like there's guys in that 6K range that actually have a little bit better upside. Even though he was 24th last year, I would be just a no, especially with that Barracuda WD. Big Boy says $200 DFS single entry. Okay.
Big boy
lineup. Would you all big boy indeed. Would you all take as your last man in Tristan Lawrence, Paul Peterson, or David Skins?
Peterson or Skins? I mean, I'll tell you, I took Peterson, but I don't mind if you take Skins.
I mean, I think like, I hate to do this, but like in a $200 single entry, as much as I want to lobby for Peterson, like I don't know that I'd like, if that's your big lineup, I don't know that I'd put Paul Peterson in there, but just like, that's just kind of, nobody like just play him in a different lineup. That's how I would do it. I think Skins is the proper play, but you're definitely going to get ownership leverage. I don't know how big this particular $200 single entry is, but you're going to get ownership leverage with Tristan over Skins. Cause I think Rick Skins is going to be pretty popular, right?
For that range, yes, you'll be. Yes.
How do we feel about Jackson Suber at 6,900? Speaking of perceived ball strikers, it's a no for me, Rick.
I did not get any Suber, but I mean, I love him, but check back in a year or two. I mean, he's very, very raw. Yeah, I did not get a lot of Suber.
Is Antoine Rosner too crazy for a one and done pick? I mean, Rick, come on.
Yeah, it's too much. I mean, I'm happy to be crazy, but this is a week where like Adam Scott's 2.5%. Ricky Fowler's 2%. Emiliano Grillo's 2%. All those guys are better than Antoine Rosner.
Yeah.
So
you don't need to get that cute.
You need to, unless you're in like, you have to pick 5 guys a week and you are just out of players is the only time. I just don't see a reason why you'd have to do this.
Totally agree. Let's see. There's not many questions left. Hopefully you all have hit the like button. Please always do that when you get in here. Let's probably close with this one, but we'll maybe answer 1 or 2 more if you want to put them in there. Bobby Lee says, Adam Hadwin is the same odds to make the cut as Joel Damon, who you mentioned, Rick. David Skins and Mac Meisner, I guess he's saying, oh, okay. They're all the same odds to make the cut, all 4 of those names. Has he really been playing that poorly? Thanks for all the help, guys. So we're talking about Adam Hadwin here. Has he really been playing that poorly? I mean, Rick, the answer is yes.
It's beyond horrible. I mean, it is. It's the facts. He has been, his profile is a wall of red.
Yeah.
It's just about as ugly as it gets. Yes.
Well,
it's been that bad.
What is that? Like, Adam Hadwin's a decent golfer. Like, what is that?
It could be father time.
Yeah.
Listen, he's probably on the back end of his career. It's going to happen eventually. The cliff kind of happened very quickly for him, if that's the case. But yeah, he's clearly lost, and it's infiltrating every aspect of his game. He's probably pressing too much. He might just not be as good as he used to be as well. He's almost certainly not. He's 37 years old. He's on the wrong side of his prime. But it was a precipitous drop off from like the last couple of years.
Yeah. Good dude. Correct me if I'm wrong, but is it his social media account or is it his wife's that just his wife's. Great?
She's great.
Okay.
Yeah. Jess, she's great. But it's like, yeah, he's had an awesome career.
Mm-hmm.
This was going to happen. I hope maybe this isn't the end of his career, but the year has been unbelievably miserable.
So let's close it with this. I made my call, Rick, on who's going to win the tournament. Okay. And it's, of course, we already know it's going to be Michael Thorpe Bjornsson. You make your call.
I mean, I go Max Grazerman. Okay. Let's do it.
Max and Thorpe are our 2 winners on this edition of the Early Wedge. Rick, that was fun. A lot of people I'm seeing in the comments really like this Q&A. I mean, we do this every Wednesday at 4 o'clock. So hopefully you all are always tied in. It's an interesting time to do the live chat, but we get a lot of listeners. We get a lot of questions. You're always welcome to jump in here early, the YouTube chat early, because the link is always going to be available many hours before the show starts. Throw in your questions, and we're going to get to all your questions. So no need to thank us, JP, but really the thank you would be in hitting the like button and just simply participating in the chat. We always say that. So we'll see you next time for the Early Wedge on the 10:30 a.m. Sunday morning live show. That's where me and Mike McClure and Patrick McDonald, who actually may be out, but Jason Sobel, we're going to give you live bets for the Sunday round 4 slate, whether it's outrights or finishing positions or matchups. We're going to have you covered. So make sure you tune into this channel, of course, the Early Edge, every single Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock. Rick, thank you very much. Aaron, thank you very much on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s while Josh is out. And thank you again, everybody in the chat. Really appreciate everybody's participation. We'll see you next time on the Early Wedge.